Hello, and welcome to the Lorcana Muses Podcast. I'm Brittany.
I'm Stephanie.
We are so happy to have you here.
Well, we've survived our first weekend of Shimmering Skies.
Survive, baby, you mean thrive.
I know. Look at me. I pulled my Enchanted finally, and it's a beauty of a one.
Whoop, whoop.
That Snow White is gorgeous.
So happy for you. I also...
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband and I pulled 3 Enchanteds this weekend.
3.
But Stephanie pulled her first one.
Yes.
And honestly, if we're looking at all of the enchantments together, I think yours is probably the most sought after out of that grouping.
I think it's right now on TCG, if that or Mufasa's the most expensive.
Top tier from this set. I was so super excited. I love Archimedes. I love the purple's my favorite color. So the fact that it's so purple in the background with the shimmers. And then we talked about how much I loved Badanon, and then I pulled the Badanon card, and I was super excited.
I know. I was so jealous when I saw the Badanon. Oh no, they love our villains. But no, I'm really excited for Snow White. She's displayed very nicely in my office. My husband is telling me that we should get her graded and do all these things. I'm like, I'm never gonna sell her though. So
honestly, because like we have our Elsa graded.
Yeah.
I don't like the pack that it's in very much.
No,
I don't like the slab. And so like that's my biggest issue with her being graded is like we have some really nice slabs for our other enchantments that we get graded, and I think like they're nicer quality slabs than the one that came back from after it got graded.
Yeah. No,
I'm not gonna take it out of that because it's already graded. But
I have bought like sleeve mats or sleeves for your mats.
Yeah.
So they're clear, because I really want to hang up and display my mats that I'm not using anymore. As new sets come out, I'm obviously going to use the new Bell mat. So my Tinkerbell one will probably go to the wayside. And now that I have like a nice display in our office with all of our Lorcana stuff, I want to put the mats on the wall and then do like a shadow box with all of my Enchanteds. My one Enchanted, but who knows? I might get more. Who knows?
I mean, we started at 1. And move it
and kept on going.
I love our shadow box for our Enchanted, so I highly recommend doing that. I will say that I really enjoyed this weekend.
It was fun.
We had a lot of fun. We opened up boxes on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We went and played a draft at our normal North Valley Games, and we had a really good time. We had a lot of people show up, which was fantastic. I think everybody had a good time.
The energy was so up.
And we took up pretty much the whole store with our drafting, and it was really fun. And even though I didn't do fantastic in it, I still think I had a really good time. I think I did have a really good time, and it was definitely a fun change of pace with the new cards. I liked draft because then you could see all the cards in action. Yeah, see them in real life. Like I'd opened a bunch of packs that day already, so I had already opened all the new stuff. But it was fun to then try to think about how am I actually going to play these cards.
Yeah.
Like what is good in limited versus what is good constructed is very different.
Yeah, for sure.
Because a lot of the cards that I would never play in a constructed deck, like a lot of the vanilla cards, are really good when it comes to draft. So we played draft on Friday, and then on Saturday we had our normal league night. And that was fun. It was a much smaller grouping than Friday night draft, which is like 40 people. But it was fun. It was fun to see some people brought out some new decks and had some new cards. Not everybody had new cards in their decks yet. So but it was still a good balance. I feel like overall we had a good time. We had some new players, so we were helping introduce them to the game because we all know that a new set is probably the best time to introduce somebody to the game, because then everybody's learning the new cards, so they don't always feel like they're just starting from zero.
Right.
And then on Sunday, Daryl and I went and played sealed. So that means that we each got packs, and then we had to make a deck from the packs that we didn't. So it's different than draft because you're not passing the packs, so you get the packs that you get, and you build from there. So I don't know. I like I like the challenge of a draft and how you're passing cards and then have to really, really think about, well, maybe I'll keep this because I don't want somebody else to have it, even if it doesn't synergize with the rest of your deck. But it's also like in limited, like unlimited. They're both limited. In sealed, you're definitely more thinking about like, well, I don't know what else everybody else had in their packs, right? So it is definitely 100% like luck of the draw sometimes when it comes to your packs. Like I didn't have bad packs, but I didn't have fantastic packs. Like the elephant card.
Oh yeah, the Madam
Elephant. She's a really great card, and she's really great in limited. I think she's going to be great in any Amethyst deck that plays the Mim package. Yeah, anyway. She's very strong. But we played two different people who pulled that card, and it did a lot of work for them in the game. So
definitely. No, it was fun, and we kind of went in. I've always really liked draft and sealed. I think a little bit more than going to like just a big tournament, because I think as a social player, it just brings everybody to more of a same level. You're not playing against meta decks. You're not playing against somebody who's playing with this deck for the last 5 sets. So it kind of like limits everybody. Obviously, there's skill to draft and there's skill to sealed, but it's just a lot more fun in my opinion. And I enjoy it. Not that I don't enjoy constructed, because I have built, I think, 6 decks now because I have a problem. But no, I'm really excited. I did okay in the draft event on Friday. I think going into it, I was helping the new person that was at my table kind of understand it a little bit better, and talking it out loud, like, you know, all these things and you know all these tips, but having to explain it to somebody, I think kind of reteaches you what you need to do and what you need to get. And then she pulled an Enchanted, her very first pack, and that was insane. We were all very excited for her. She didn't know what to do. The poor thing was like shaking. Yes. So no, that was really exciting. And that was the card she obviously pulled, so she couldn't pull a card for that pack to actually play with. But it's just a lot of fun. I know evasives, that Archimedes, the evasive 2-drop, I didn't really look twice at him when he was revealed. And then playing him in my draft, I had 4 of him and he did work, which was really cool.
Yeah, so you're always looking for evasives and bodyguards and that not necessarily are always in a constructed deck, but anything evasive, because there's not as many answers in all of the packs. Yeah,
because you're not going to, obviously, you're not going to want to get too gimmicky with the deck because you have no idea what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that was really good. I will say that when I'm playing, it's definitely different than when I'm teaching. So as a teacher in real life, I always know that I do better when I'm explaining things to other people. But I do say, so like as we were teaching this new player this weekend, I helped with deck construction. I helped alter one of the Shimmering Skies starter decks to get her started. And so it was definitely, I had to think about, well, what in this pack is actually decent enough to play in a constructed deck versus what is decent enough to help teach the mechanics of the game. And she was a Magic player, so like overall has TCG knowledge. It was just how to get into this game. And it was more of the social element that was her big hurdle into starting this game. Was we already seemed like a tight-knit group with our league on Fridays. And so she was a little bit intimidated by how friendly we were with each other, and she wasn't sure about joining us. So I'm glad that she was able to decide to pick up the deck and then wasn't afraid to ask for help. And then she came back Saturday after we had helped her on Friday to come play again.
Yeah. And I think that's also a great thing about draft and sealed events. You're put in these pods that you probably most likely will not be put into the same pod as, your friends or your husband or other people that you play with regularly. So if you are newer to the scene, it kind of puts everybody into this group where you chit chat while you're, passing packs around and building your deck. And it can be a lot of fun, a lot of silliness.
You definitely had a much, much sillier pod than I did. My pod was a lot more serious.
Yeah, I bring the fun wherever I go, and you know that.
I do. I was feeling the FOMO real from across the room because they were laughing so loudly, and I was glad they were having a great time. But I was at a much serious pod, and I was in a pod against players that are very good at draft, and so it felt a lot more competitive than I was expecting for it to be. I still had a really good time, and I definitely enjoy playing with those people, but they are more serious when it comes to draft because they are just more serious players and silly. But I had it was fun, but it was each because we had 3 different pods, and between the 3 pods, the dinner was just so wildly different.
It really was. I feel like we had like a serious pod, a mid pod, and then my crazy chaotic.
Yeah, your pod.
It was chaos.
It was chaos the whole day.
Which might also be very distracting, but also I think because it was on like release day for Shivering Skies, everybody was just so excited, and it was fun. And then Saturday was a little bit more serious because but also not, because people are trying these new decks, adding these new cards. I played my Queen deck, which actually did a lot better than I thought it would. I added more cards like McDuck Manor that give it more lores, and it's harder to get rid of. So while I'm waiting for kind of like the queens to go off, I'm getting passive lore.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So, no, I liked your Queen deck.
Yeah.
And I put together a really silly little Knights deck for Saturday, and it was terrible, but it was fun to play. I liked having all the 7 dwarves out. I will not be playing that deck again though, because it was fun,
right,
but it wasn't competitive at all. And I am definitely more competitively,
right?
So even though I love the idea of a theme deck, I have to make my decks actually work. And so I was like, I needed to actually do work and allow me to feel more competitive. I like the idea of them, and if we have theme nights or anything, I'll definitely still do those. But in general, I probably won't build very many theme decks to play.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping now that the game store that we frequent is doing 2 nights. One of those nights can be more of those theme nights. I'm trying to talk to them about doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were talking to them about that earlier. So we're hoping that's going to be the case. I'd love to do that more because there's another store locally that does it more often, but not as crazy about that store. And so I'm hoping that stores that we frequent more often are.
Yeah. And just the proximity. I mean, this is so close. Yeah. Well, in front of us, should we talk about what we have in front of us?
Yes. So we were talking about draft, and we were talking about sealed. And so we each bought 4 packs to open up on the podcast. And then we're going to talk about all the cards that we're pulling and if we think it's good for draft or good for a limited or sealed format. And then if we think it's a good card overall, maybe to put into some of the decks that are already meta decks or into a theme deck. So we're going to talk through those. We'll put some pictures on our socials so you can visually see them. We actually unwrapped the packs and then flipped them over upside down beforehand so that we didn't have all the crinkle and pop on the audio. But we definitely want you to hear what we're opening. So we're going to go with Stephanie's pack number 1.
All right. So we have the White Rabbit Royal Herald. He's a 3-drop with 3/4 stat line and 1 lore. He's okay. I don't know if I would probably pick him my first one. He's definitely decent like hit stat, but for draft, I'm looking for lore. What's going to give me the most lore? So I'd probably pass it.
I think that in these sets, the 3 is a really heavy, like there's been a lot of characters at drop range, and there are definitely more decent 3 drops to hit.
Well, and you have to think about, obviously, so not for draft, but when you're playing now in constructed, anything with 3 is going to die to Madame Medusa, who's a huge staple in red purple decks, or any red decks, because I've seen her in red blue, and so I'm trying to be more mindful of getting anybody that's 3 or under.
That's fair.
Then we have Merryweather, Good Fairy. She's 1/2, inkable, cost 1. When you play this character, you may pay 1 ink to give chosen character +2 this turn to attack. Again, I don't know if I would choose this one. There's so many other 1-drops that do better. She might be good ink fodder, so just to be able to ink it really quick if she's like one of the last cards you get in a pack as it's being passed around. But other than that, I think I would pass on that. Then we have Taffeta Mutton Fudge. I know we've talked extensively about the arts in this card, but she is so pretty. She's my daughter's favorite card. Like, she wants to make a Wreck-It Ralph deck. She and her little sister have been watching the 2 movies on repeat since Friday. So,
which is funny. I've been talking about Wreck-It Ralph 2 in my classroom recently.
They're so fun movies.
Digital citizenship, and we were talking about viruses on the computer, and I was like, it's the perfect visual representation.
So this one, I think, is another one I would pass on. When you play this character, if you have a location in play, each opponent loses 1 lore. I don't want to be focused on what my opponent has as far as lore and making them lose it. I'm trying to get the most, at least in draft. And then we have Took, the Northern Moose from Brother Bear. What do you think?
I actually did put him in my deck.
You did? Okay.
He hits for 4, and that's actually really helpful in the format, because you do need to help clear some of the board across from you. So the fact that he has that, and that can combine with Rut. So I had both, and then Rut has support, and so then you can Took, and then he hits for 7.
All right, I can see that. This one I did put in my deck, which is Chaka, Impressive Daughter from Emperor's New Groove, because she is lore 2, inkable, and then the 4/3 stat line.
Yeah, no, she's definitely better. She's so 4-drop.
She's a good 4-drop. And then we have a Duck for Cover.
Duck for Cover. Sorry, my husband and I, every time we opened that card this weekend, did that exact phrasing to open up the card. So every time we say it now, probably forevermore, will be Duck for Cover.
This one I did not. I got him a couple of times in drafts, and I kept passing on them. Chosen character gains resist 1 and evasive this turn. There's characters that do this too, and I'd always rather have a body than a one-off action. If it was a item, I could see keeping this on board. Like if you tap it and it does that.
I think if you have an action-heavy deck or you have a discount on actions, that would probably work.
Yeah.
And there are definitely discount on action in previous sets, so it worked with...
Absolutely, for constructed deck, but yeah.
For limited.
And then we have Radigan's Party. While you have a damaged character here, this location gets +2 lore. Again, I would rather have a location that just has 2 lore.
I feel like it's too slow.
Yeah, too slow for draft. But this might be a great one for that Amber Ruby, I don't know what to call it, deck. Like a hurt deck?
I mean, that's the deck that I run. So yes, I call it the Mufasa deck.
Okay.
But generally there are other Amber Ruby decks that have the
damage
Ruby characters and then the healing Amber characters. It would probably work in there. But again, it's the movement cost to location, and then also it's just another thing that you have to add to it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad location. I always like when locations can do something. I just don't know how much play it's actually going to see.
Yeah. Interesting. And then I love this card, Maleficent Vexed Partygoer. I love the Maleficent behind us.
I love all of the villains behind the rope.
And they're so mad.
Dude.
let's see. Whenever this character quests, you may choose and discard a card to return chosen character, item, or location with cost 3 or less to their player's hands. I think I also passed on this. I might be able to put this into a draft deck and ignore kind of like
The secondary action.
Because she is 3 cost inkable. Her stat line, yes, she doesn't hit for very much or at all, but she's got 4 health and she quests for 2.
Yeah, no, I put her in mine because of that questing for 2. That's what I always focused on, but I didn't use that secondary ability.
And then we have the Seven Dwarves Mine, which I have put in my steel blue constructed deck. It's really fun, and with the knights, and there's so many knights now, it has done actual work, but again, it's a little too slow for draft.
I actually disagree.
Oh, really?
I actually drafted a lot of knights when I drafted.
Oh, okay.
Worked perfectly for that, and then it helped with board clearing when I was moving them.
Yeah.
So I think it really depends on what other things you're drafting.
I would say, too, it depends on when you get it in the draft.
Yeah.
Because if you get this and a couple more early, then you can be on the lookout for
in the first 2 packs, I got 2 knights, and then the 3rd pack, I got that. So I was like, oh, okay, that's where I'm going to focus.
And then these 2, I definitely don't think I would see them in draft. They're the super rare and rare cards, Robin Hood, Timely Contestant. I actually did play somebody on draft who was running this card.
The 9?
The 9, but it's for each 1 damage on opposing characters, you pay 1 less to play him. And so he sprayed damage on all my quick characters that were out, because I had about 4 characters that were out. And then he played it on turn 4, I think it was. And then, he quested for 4. And
well,
it's a 6/6. It was very rude because then he won both games.
No. So when we were talking about decks earlier, when this card was released, when it was announced, I definitely looked at it in the idea of putting it in a green steel, because steel has so much damage, and then being able to play him.
I think building the Robin Hood steel green or steel emerald deck is there. I would love to see somebody build it and see if there's something more to it. And then the Snow White's the one that I got in Enchanted. She's fine. She's uninkable, which I always caution away from when I'm telling people like how to play drafts. You don't want too many uninkables. You want a few is fine. She has a 3/5 stat line. She gets 1 resist. So again, if you're getting her early on, and then you can look for other knights possibly for your draft deck, I could see it, because then you can just continuously quest for 3. And nobody can hit her.
Yeah, so the player that I ended up playing against on the first round of our draft also was getting a lot of knights.
Oh, interesting.
He pulled her.
Oh.
And so it went really well for him.
Oh, I bet.
Both. But yeah, so you have 40 cards in your deck in limited format. So when you're thinking about how many uninkables you should have, it shouldn't be more than 8. No, like you want it to be pretty low. For me, I try to stay like at 5. Like I do not want to run into an uninkable hand.
Yeah.
And so that definitely is one of those things but no more than 8 when it comes to like percentage of your deck.
Right. No, I see that. But yeah, I think I caution on the error side of having more like 5 instead of 8. So yeah, what did you get in your first pack?
All right. Well, I got one of the best cards I think that's for limited is the Knock.
Yeah.
So he's a 6 5/5, and when you play this character, you move up to 2 damage counters from a chosen character to chosen opposing character. That movement of damage is
really good,
vital for this. Mm-hmm. Then you don't have to spend your characters attacking to clear the board. You can raise that, and he like this card,
and a lot of people are gonna have that like two health stat line.
Yeah, and so like this card did a lot of really good stuff. Now I will say that you can attack first and then play this character, so you do have the damage to move if you don't already have it.
Oh, okay.
So I end up doing that in my Ruby Amber all the time, like running my characters across the board before I play anything like my Rapunzel to heal. Mm-hmm. So I can get the card draw. if I don't already have a character that's injured, because I do have injured characters automatic that come in injured, like Mulan and Beast. Like I played both injured versions of both of those characters. But I don't always have to have an injured character on the board to get the card draw from Rapunzel or from Julieta. So the knock would be a similar mechanic of that. Another card I pulled was the Night Howler Rage action. We were talking about how we didn't necessarily enjoy playing actions, but this action allows you to draw a card.
Yeah, so I put that action in my deck, and I was able to get draw power, which is so important.
Yeah, and I think this works similar to, like, in giving another character Reckless.
Yeah.
The last set, when we had Jacques, like, he's a character that gives a character Reckless on entry. So and that did a lot of work last draft seasons.
No, anytime you can make a character not quest and come to you and figure out an answer is so great.
Yeah. Another item I pulled was Potion of Might. It's a 1-drop, and it's 1 cost to banish this item. Chosen character gets +3, and if it's a villain character, they get +4 instead. I don't think this item's that great, but if you have a lot of villains or something, maybe it would make sense. I think it's just going to be ink.
Yeah,
just to be honest, like, it's just ink. The 2-drop Leload Cake Decorator, who is a 1/3 with support. I think it's a decent stat line.
Yeah,
1/3, 3 health is good. The support is always good. Like, you've already quested her, so you might as well send the extra damage somewhere. And so that's helpful. I think this card, the Donald Duck 5-drop, who lures for 2. When you play this character, you may put the top card from your deck in Inkwell face down and exerted. Anytime you can add more to your Inkwell as a secondary action is great. So it's a good stat line overall, but even that. The 1-drop Happy Lively Night, he hits for 2, has 1 health, but he is evasive on your turn. It's a good 1-drop. It's a good one. 5-drop Ludwig von Drake 4/4, and he lures for 3. He's great in limited. He's probably great just in general if you're heavy lore like more of an aggro deck. So if you're playing in a Sapphire aggro, he'd probably be good in that. The Arthur 1-drop, who's uninkable, 2/3 Reckless. I feel like if you are planning on having a lot of damage in your deck, maybe it'd be okay. But again, he's uninkable, and I just want to avoid those as much as possible. The Library. This card got me so much lore.
Yeah.
Because it has 8 health. And then whenever my characters were banished, I could also draw cards. So card draw, lore, inkable. Like, this is only 1 to move there. Great card. I think we're going to see it in a lot of constructed decks too.
Yeah, I've seen so much talk about using it with the Queen's Castle, and then a lot of those like bounce decks. I think, definitely.
Wreck-It Ralph, the 7. He's a 6/7 he's a beefy boy, which makes sense for Wreck-It Ralph. It is the Admiral Underpants is the version. When you play this character, return a character card from your discard to your hand. If that card is a princess card, gain 2 lore. So that's just good if you have, even if you don't have princesses, but you could pull any princess, right? There's several princesses in this set. Any quest for 2. So I think he's decent, but the fact that he's uninkable makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah, it is a higher cost.
Yeah. And there's no discount with him. So then Louisa Madrigal, Entertaining Muscle, where she's throwing the donkeys in the air. Super fun. She's a 4/8 in quest for 3, but again, uninkable. So try to avoid as much as possible.
She's amazing in the Blurple deck Alex just built, though. Yeah. She is nasty.
That was fun. And then I got a Hollow Sherwood Forest. I think this location will do great and constructed, but I don't think it's good for draft.
Yeah, I like to see it in the Emerald Steel, Robin Hood deck. So let's see my next pack. I've got the Earth Giant, 4 inkable quest for 2, 4, 5 stat line. When you play this character, each opponent draws a card. I know that sounds intimidating. You don't really want to give your opponent that
card draw
and that advantage, but also for a 4-drop, he hits for 4, he's got 5 health, and he quests for 2.
I'd say put him in 2.
Then you have Pete's 3, 4, and then 4, 3 stat line, and only one lore. So, and he's the pastry chomper one. I don't know. I mean, he's fine. I guess because he hits for 4, I might put him in as a 3-drop.
I think it really depends on what other cards you have.
Yeah, and then he's inkable, which is again always helpful. I will say I think I can see him in a Steel Ruby Pete deck. I know some people have been trying to build more of that out and do an action deck too with that, so we'll see. And then we have the Donald Duck. Rudy, he's a great 1-drop. He's 2/2, quest for 1, and he's inkable. He threw the Emperor's Groove off.
You threw off my groove.
He's a great character. Every time I pulled him, speaking of doing things with your husband, I would say, "You threw off my grooves." And then we were watching the Emperors. We put on a lot of Disney movies whenever we're opening packs because it's just what you do, or you put on music. And then the Sven, Reindeer Steed, he's a 4 inkable, 3/3 stat line, quest for 2, and when you play this character, you may ready chosen character. They can't quest or challenge for the rest of the turn, but this is a great one to play when you've already quested, or even if you've already hit up, your opponent and you want to ready somebody else so then that person maybe survives another turn. A great card. I love that card.
No, I think it's great.
And then you have You're Welcome, the song.
What can I say except you're welcome?
Ask Brittany how much she loves Maui.
Not a fan. Well, I'll say Maui as a character, not so bad. You're Welcome as a song could be better.
I don't know. I really love the song, but that's just me. It's catchy. Shuffle chosen character, item, or location into that player's hand, and then that player draws 2 cards. I love that. And it's inkable. And then we get into some uninkables with Kristoff as a 9-drop. But he's kind of like a Chernobog, but for songs. So every song you have in your discard, you pay 1 less. I don't know if I would put him in a draft. Actually, I wouldn't put him in a draft.
No, because you're not guaranteed to get enough songs to get the discount.
But I want to see him. I'm surprised I haven't seen him, and I know it's only been a week.
Yeah.
In Steel song decks, I think he's and he's a bodyguard. I mean, come on.
I think we'll see him slowly start eking into some, but again, I don't know if they want to rely on that cost discount.
Yeah, but if that's their whole gimmick is to sing songs. So
fair.
We'll see. I mean, I would love to play him. I just don't play enough songs in any of my decks. And then you have the Sapphire Chromicon, this item enters play exerted, then you have to pay 2 ink and exert it to banish one of your items and gain 2 lore. There's way too much going on for this card for, I think, constructed and for a draft.
I think it's kind of a dud.
It's a dud card. And then we have that beautiful Madame Mim. It's a wonderful, the elephant one.
Oh, she's wonderful in this.
She's great in constructed and in draft. And then the 2-drop Robin Hood archery contestant. 2/2 stat line, 1 more. When you play this character, if any opponent has a damaged character in play, gain 1 lore. So
I think he's a decent card. Like I don't think he's like a fantastic card, but
so this is the part of the deck that I played for draft. Is he had these guys, and then he played the stronger one that was the 9-drop, and every time he hit me and did damage, he could pay the 9-drop for less. And so it was a decent deck. I don't know if it did. I didn't ask him how it did overall that night, but it just definitely destroyed me in draft. So I was maybe doing something wrong.
Well, I don't necessarily think you were doing anything wrong, but it definitely, I think, is a very situational card.
Yeah.
And when in doubt, situational cards are not ones that we should play while in limited format.
Yeah.
Right? Play as limited of locations as possible, because so many of them have things that are dependent on them to work. playing limited like decks that are cards that require a combo to work, right? Each card needs to be able to stand on its own. Otherwise, you shouldn't pick it to play.
Right.
Now, I will say, like, if you get like the lower drop Archimedes and then you get the shift, yeah, maybe you should try that. Or I ended up in on Sunday when I had sealed, I pulled the 2-drop Maleficent and then the 9-drop Maleficent. And so I wasn't able to play both of them together. But I liked the idea of possibly being able to shift it.
Yeah.
I think that's something to keep in mind. So I'm not going to necessarily talk about anything that I opened that is the same.
Yeah.
But one of the things I opened in this next pack was Hypnotic Strength. It's an action. So we're not really crazy about actions in limited, but this one does allow you to gain a card or draw a card. So that is something that we always want, and more card draw. The Flora, while being challenged, this character gets +2 attack. It's a decent card for this format. Donald Duck, fantastic. This card is fantastic for this format. Whenever this character challenges another character, each opponent loses 1 lore. He's a 3-drop, 2/4. I made a lot of people lose lore that card this weekend. Healing Touch action, remove up to 4 damage from a chosen character and draw a card. I think this is okay, but the fact that it's 3 for an action that's still drawing a card, I would rather have like the Hypnotic Strength where it's a card. Dazzle, a 1-drop with support. He hits for 2, lures for 1. Good 1-drop, just decent. Duck for cover. Again, it's an action. I would necessarily like their characters that do this for better. Shenzi, 3-drop, 2/3, evasive. Evasive is the key word when it comes to draft. You want to keep all those evasive cards always.
Yeah.
Pull the evasive cards. And while challenging a damaged character, this character gets +2 attack. She did a lot of work this weekend. Turbo, rush cards. Rush is also something you want to keep an eye on. This is an uninkable turbo. But he is definitely something I did put in one of my decks, and I think he was a good choice on my part. And it also counts as a shift for King Candy. So if you pulled the King Candy, that would have been a great shift option if you tried that. Now, you cannot rely on any of the shifts because you just don't know what you're going to pull. You only have one of most of these cards, so they need to be able to stand on their own. Monstro is just a big body, and it actually it's good for in this format. So he's a just vanilla card. He's a 5-drop, 5/6, lures for 1. Just a good, decent card to help clear some of the board. Scrooge McDuck, a 4, uninkable, 5/5, who lures for 2. Okay, it's an okay card.
Right.
That uninkable hurts it a lot. Iago, evasive, a 4-drop, 2/4. Whenever this character quests, you may pay 2 less for the next action. So, like, that's not something you want to rely on. But if you have that combo in your hand at the moment, you can do it. But you're not going to rely on that secondary effect. And then I got another Lilo Cake Decorator, the support character. Okay, so we're not going to open all 4 packs. We are going to look through them just a little bit. We'll let you know. So I have the Shift King Candy, but I want to talk about Moana. She's an uninkable 3-drop who is a 3/4 who quests for 2. This I feel is a really good stat line.
Yeah, like that's the exception.
Yeah, so this would be an uninkable I would choose.
Right.
Now I wouldn't choose a lot of them, but if I ended up getting 2 of them, I would be okay with that. But it would be an exception to the rule. So just make sure you're trying to pick cards that are efficient.
Yeah.
You're trying to, like, this is not something you want to play this game long.
Yeah.
Right? Draft is not a long game. It's a efficient game. So it's about efficiency and getting to the lore quickly while having board state.
Yeah. So all these cards are so amazing. I absolutely love Shivering Skies. I'm excited for the next couple of months. But, you know, we're greedy and we're always looking to the future. And we just had D23, which teased so many things and the longevity of the game, which is amazing to see. It's amazing that already they've sold over 1 billion cards of this game, and it's only a year old. It's crazy to think this is a year old. But anyway, so we're so excited. We're ready for set 6, and guess what they announced?
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited.
I know, to see Rescue Rangers come in and finally get Chip and Dale cards.
Which I was excited.
And I am so excited for Gadget and Monterey Jack and Zipper. Oh my gosh, I am so excited.
I asked for this. I did. I was like, who do I want to see? And I wanted to see Chip and Dale. So I was super excited they put him in with the Rescue Rangers. Like, I would have been okay with them and they'd just been their classic
Chip and Dale.
But I watched Rescue Rangers so much as a kid.
Me too.
Love Gadget's Go Coaster and Disney and Toontown and like all of that growing up. So I'm so excited. But also, let's talk. I am thrilled Pixar is coming, okay?
Oh yes.
Like,
I have to wait a while.
Like, can you imagine?
No.
You always make me ink.
I'm sure it's got to be a Sapphire card.
Oh, of course. But I have to be able to say it all the time.
No, I'm excited for Finding Nemo and Toy Story and Ratatouille, Turning Red, and all these amazing Bug's Life. If they don't have a Bug's Life in there, I might riot. But I'm also waiting for a Goofy movie. So you've listened to Brittany now, Ravensburger. You need to listen to me. The fact that we're having the Black Cauldron now for a Goofy movie.
That's ridiculous.
We're going to start rioting. No, but I'm very excited. It's awesome.
Want to see eye to eye here, friends.
And I need to see Max, and then I need to see the shift of Max as Power Link. I mean, come on.
It writes itself. It draws itself. Come on.
Oh, On the Open Road, that's easily like a location mover song. Come on. Anyways, I digress. We're very excited. I can't believe they're going to put Pocahontas in there. Just all this amazing news for Lorcana and the universe, and I can't believe it. I'm so excited. I'm so jealous for everybody who got to see it live and be there at D23.
I know we got all of this secondhand, but we love all of our friends who are content creators that were there.
Yes.
And we love this game. So we're thrilled to see all these announcements for it. Like, Disney is doing really well. Ravensburger is doing really well with this game, and we're loving that they're building on the community aspect by adding in another form of event.
Yeah.
And we love that they announced where the nationals are going to be in Disneyland, and then the world's going to be at World, which is so great. And then the European championship is going to be in Paris. And so I think that those are all really fun places to be, and looking forward to maybe possibly going to one of those events. Not the international one, but definitely would love to travel to see one of those events. Quite possibly, if my husband does well in Vegas, he'll get a float there.
Yes.
We're not relying on that. However, a trip to Disneyland is always a lovely idea. Husband, hint, hint.
I know, right? That's what I'm telling Alex, is it's not just a trip to go see the nationals, or the world, but it's also a trip to take our girls to Disney World, which is, he's never been, and I've only been when I was 20 something years old, and I can't imagine the overwhelmingness of Disney World to these two girls who are so into Disney, and just as much as into Disney as I am. My oldest is like, take me to League Night. She wants to go. The Gateway game, I cannot promote it enough, has been such an amazing tool to teach her how to play the mechanics of a card game when she has like no previous background on it, obviously. Or any background on TCG. So if you're looking to get anybody into Lorcana or anybody into just the world of TCGs, pick up Gateway. It's such an amazing game.
Yeah, I've heard that from several people, and I think that it's a really good idea to have. I have been promoting it to parents at my school, and that when they're asking about games or things that they could do that are not technology based. Always promote board games and card games to play as a family. And this game is definitely one that is a family game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we're very excited for the future of Lorcana. We're excited for set 6 and the set championships for set 5. I know Mirabelle has been announced as the card to win, and then the top 8 is going to be able to get this card this time rather than the top 4, and then also the playmat of her. So she looks wonderful. We love Mirabelle. I love Encanto. It's, oh my gosh, it still makes me cry, and I probably have seen it a dozen or so times. We're also really excited for what we have coming up in the pipeline for our podcast episodes.
So we're going to really talk about the story of Lorcana in our next episode, and talk about where do we think the story is going? Who's the next big bad? What is going on in this world of Lorcana? So we're going to really kind of dive deep and look at all of the flavor text on this new set, and how does it add to the story that's already been built, and what do we think is coming up with based on a lot of those spoiler promo stuff that we saw at D23. We also are going to have a father-son duo coming onto our podcast here very soon, and we'd love to hear from you. What kind of questions would you ask a family that is playing this game in this format? So what questions do you have for our father-son duo as we get ready to have them on in 2 episodes?
Yeah, and it's a younger son and father duo, or, elementary school age son. So I know there's a lot of questions that, how do you get them into it? How do you fit schedules in? Yeah,
we have a lot of questions about, like, what is the right age for this game?
Yeah.
And so we'll ask them what their opinions are on that, but we'd love to hear from you. What questions are you wanting to ask?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can either email us at the Lorcana Muses Podcast at gmail.com, or tweet us at the Lorcana Muses Pod, or Instagram at the Lorcana Muses Podcast.
And we'd love to hear you. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep. So have a great day and happy questing.